In this video, I'm going to analyze the pronunciation of a viewer of this channel. His name is Aiden. He's from the southern United States. He's in his second year of high school, which makes him around 15 to 16 years old, and he's currently in his third year of Spanish classes. He feels he's decent in reading and writing, but speaking and listening comprehension have been a struggle for him. I think the format where I give an analysis first and then we listen to the recording is a good one, so that's what I'll do here. First, a couple of things I think Aiden did well. Double L and Y. In most places, Aiden pronounced double L like a voiced palatal fricative, zh. So he pronounced llorar like llorar, aquella like aquella, and allá like allá. In his personal story, he also pronounced yo as jo. This pronunciation is accurate for many South American dialects and is much better than how most English-speaking students pronounce double L and Y. He wasn't 100% consistent with it, though. When introducing himself before he began reading, he pronounced me llamo something like me llamo. And in his personal story, he pronounced yo as yo a couple of times. He also pronounced cayó like cayó, which if he were being consistent would have been cayó. But for the most part, he pronounced double L and Y really well. J as a voiceless palatal fricative. In this recording, Aiden pronounced J as a voiceless palatal fricative. Listen for him to pronounce the J in words like this: lejos, justo, debajo. This pronunciation is accurate for many Spanish dialects in Latin America and Spain, and it's much better than the weak h pronunciation most Americans give this sound. V as B. In this recording, Aiden consistently pronounces the letter V like a hard B, which is a step in the right direction. The Spanish letters V and B are pronounced the same as each other, and Standard Spanish has no V sound. Of course, most English-speaking students of Spanish give the Spanish V the same pronunciation as English V, which is not correct for any dialect of Spanish. In this recording, you can hear Aiden pronounce the V in these words like this: ba, viejo, vez. Now this pronunciation is correct for this letter at the beginning of a word in isolation. So as I said, it's a step in the right direction. However, in most positions, Spanish V and B are not pronounced like a hard B sound, but a softer V sound. In the context of this reading, these would not have been que va, but que va, del viejo, but del viejo, cada vez, but cada vez. So Aiden still has some improvement to make with V, but at least he isn't pronouncing it V. Alright, now for some areas in which Aiden needs improvement. In broad terms, Aiden's pronunciation is still in the early stages of development. He pronounces many sounds the way they would be pronounced in English, without much modification to make them sound like the Spanish version. So, for example, he pronounces exactamente like exactamente, sentadas like sentadas, perfectamente like perfectamente, and música like música. His rhythm and cadence are also still very English-sounding, with some syllables more drawn out and others reduced and shortened. In Spanish, syllables are more nearly equal in duration. Vowels don't reduce to schwas, and in Standard Spanish, consonant groups rarely if ever reduce to a more simplified sound. Something that complicates any analysis of Aiden's pronunciation is that he's still in the early stages of learning to sound out written Spanish words. As you listen to his recording, it's important to distinguish between pronunciation skills and oral reading skills, and not attribute mistakes in reading to misunderstanding of Spanish rules of pronunciation. They're not really the same thing. Now, in this video, I'm not going to try to discuss in detail every sound I think Aiden could stand to improve. One reason is that all native English speakers make more or less the same sorts of mistakes when learning Spanish, and I've already analyzed the pronunciation of several native English speakers, and I don't want to repeat the same things here that I've said in previous videos. So instead, I'll select a few things about Aiden's pronunciation in this recording that 1. Stand out to me, 2. I think Aiden can correct easily, and 3. Aren't exactly the same things I've said in previous videos. Not distinguishing between R sounds. In this recording, Aiden consistently pronounces all of his R's as trills, so he pronounces R pretty accurately at the beginning of words like rápidas, and double R in the middle of words like corriendo. However, he pronounces simple tapped R as trilled R in words like vieran, afuera, and araña, which he pronounces vieran, afuera, and araña. Aiden, listen carefully to the difference. I'll pronounce each of these words incorrectly first, then correctly. Vieran, vieran. Afuera, afuera. Araña, araña. I hope you can hear that in the incorrect pronunciation, the R is a trill, while in the correct pronunciation, it's only a simple tap. Voicing voiceless consonants. There are a couple of words in which Aiden voices voiceless consonants. One is exactamente, which Aiden pronounces exactamente, and the other is música, which he pronounces música. Although there were only 2 words in which he did this, there is an underlying pattern here, and understanding it is important for Aiden and others who are at his level of progress. Reducing consonant groups with S. When speaking quickly and casually, Americans frequently reduce consonant groups containing S to sh. So we often pronounce frustrated as frustrated, straight as straight, and scrape as scrape. For a good example of an English speaker who does this a lot, listen to Hank Green of SciShow, who very consistently pronounces words like astronomy as astronomy, and asteroid as asteroid. American students of Spanish frequently pronounce nosotros like nosotros, and nuestro like nuestro. In this recording, Aiden can be heard pronouncing the word estudiante, something like estudiante, and excitado, something like excitado. Other things. As I mentioned, Aiden is in the beginning stages of learning Spanish pronunciation, and he makes most of the same sorts of pronunciation errors most native English speakers make. He makes several errors with his vowels, particularly substituting e for a, and his vowel quality in most vowels is English sounding. He pronounces the B, D, and G phonemes pretty much just like English. He pronounces the P, T, and K phonemes pretty much just like English. And his L is very English sounding. I have many videos on how English speakers can improve these sounds, so I'm not going to go into them here. Alright, with that discussion to prepare our ears, let's listen to Aiden's recording. Afterward, I'll give some recommendations for what he can do to improve.
Hola, me llamo Aiden y estoy un estudiante en la escuela secundaria y yo voy a leer y decirte una historia de mi vida. Pues, empezamos. Un momento más tarde, James volvía hacia la casa corriendo cuando podía. Llevar a cabo toda la operación en la cocina. Pensó y conseguía entrar sin que lo vieran la tía Sponge y la tía Spiker. Estaba terriblemente excitado. Atravesó volando más que corriendo la alta hibera y las ortigas sin preocuparse de sus picaduras. Y a lo lejos vio la tía Sponge y la tía Spiker sentadas en sus mecedoras, de espaldas a él. Se divisó para evitarlas con la intención de entrar por el otro lado de la casa, pero de pronto, justo cuando pasaba por debajo del viejo melocoternero que estaba en medio del jardín, uno de sus pies resbaló y cayó de bruces en la hibera. La bolsa de papel se abrió y golpeó el suelo y las miles de cositas verdes se desparramaron en todas direcciones. James se puso a 4 patas inmediatamente y empezó a buscar sus preciados tesoreros. Pero, ¿qué era lo que estaba pasando? Se estaban hundiendo en el suelo. Pudo ver perfectamente cómo se revolvían y retorcían al abrirse perfectamente a camino en la dura tierra. Sin pérdida de tiempo, estiró la mano para agarrar a algunos antes de que fuera demasiado tarde, pero desapareció justo debajo de sus dedos. Trató de agarrar otras, pero sucedió exactamente lo mismo. Empezó a gratear frenéticamente en un intento desesperado de agarrar que todavía cuidaban. Pero fueron demasiado rápidas para él. Cada vez que las puntas de sus dedos estaban a punto de tocar la desaparición en el interior de la Tierra. Y pronto, en cuestión de segundos, todos sin excepción, habían desaparecido para siempre. A James le entraron ganas de escarche de ayudar. Ya nunca podría recuperar las había perdido para siempre. Pero ¿a dónde habían ido? ¿Y por qué motivo habían tenido tanta prisa en meterse en la tierra de aquella forma? ¿Qué andarían buscando? Allá abajo no había nada excepto las raíces de viejo melocontonero y un montón de gusanos, 100 pies y insectos que habitan la tierra, que era lo que había dicho el anciano. El primero que encuentran, ya sea microbio, insecto, animal o árbol, recibía toda la mágica. Cielo santo, pensó James. ¿Qué va a pasar ahora si encuentran un gusano o un 100 pies o una araña? ¿Y qué pasará si llegan hasta las raíces del melocontonero? Triste y lentamente, el pobre James se levantó del suelo y se fue a la leñera. Si no se hubiera caído y desparramado aquella maravillosa bolsa. Toda esperanza de una vida más feliz se había desvanecido. Hoy, mañana y al día siguiente y los otros días no habría más que castigos, dolor, infelicidad y desesperación. Agarró el hacha y iba a empezar al partir leña otra vez cuando oyó un grito a sus espaldas que le hizo detenerse y mirar. Pues yo voy a decir una historia de mi vida. Es una historia graciosa y enredosa. Pues, por trabajo yo trabajo afuera y cuando trabajo me gusta escuchar la música, me gusta cantar la música. Y un día mi música era tan fuerte que yo no podía oírme cantar. Entonces yo cantaba muy fuerte. Y yo cantaba una canción de una banda de España que me gustó mucho. Y yo no prestaba atención de las palabras. Y entonces yo cantaba muy fuerte las palabras. Despierta, dispara, un gringo en tu casa. Y en la distancia yo vi 2 hombres latinos y bien a mí como... Sabemos algo que no sabes, güey. Fue muy gracioso y embarazoso. Pues necesito saber que estoy cantando antes yo cantarlo.
Distinguishing between R sounds. A simplified explanation of Spanish R's goes like this. Spanish has 2 R sounds, a trill and a tap. R at the beginning of a word and double R in the middle of a word are pronounced like a trill, like in the words rana and carro. But single R in the middle of a word is just a simple tap, like in para and loro. This explanation isn't complete, and I have videos that go into Spanish R's in much more detail, but this is an okay starting place. Aiden, it's really important that you understand that Spanish has more than one way of pronouncing R, and you sort out how different R's are pronounced. Voicing voiceless consonants. X. With the exception of some proper nouns, in Spanish the letter X represents the consonant pair x. English and Spanish both have many words that begin with EX, many of which are close cognates. In English, X is sometimes pronounced x and sometimes pronounced gz. Ecstasy, expert, express, exam, exact, exist. In Spanish, X is never pronounced gz, only x. English speakers have a tendency to pronounce the X in Spanish words that are cognates with or structured similarly to this category of English words as gz. But this is inaccurate and sounds really foreign to a Spanish ear. Listen to these words pronounced first with an English-style accent, then with a more accurate Spanish accent. Examen, examen. Éxito, éxito. Exacto, exacto. Existir, existir. Exento, exento. Exhortar, exhortar. It's very important for developing a good Spanish accent to immediately stop voicing Spanish X. S. Spanish and English both sometimes pronounce the letter S like S and sometimes like Z. But the phonological rules that describe when S is pronounced this way versus this way are very different between the two languages. English speakers have a tendency to voice Spanish S in words that are cognate with or structured similarly to English words with voiced S. Listen to the following Spanish words pronounced first with an English-style accent, then with more accurate Spanish pronunciation. Música, música. Físico, físico. Resiste, resiste. Tránsito, tránsito. Aviso, aviso. Depósito, depósito. Residente, residente. Posición, posición. It's important to understand that Spanish S is never voiced in this phonetic context, ever. I have a whole video on Spanish S, and I recommend that you watch it. Reducing consonant groups with S. Aiden, it's very important to know that this common pronunciation in American English doesn't occur in Spanish at all, ever. This word is pronounced estudiante, whether it's spoken slowly and carefully or quickly and casually. Estudiante, estudiante. And this word is pronounced excitado, no matter how quickly you say it. Excitado, excitado. They're never pronounced estudiante or excitado, and this type of transformation never occurs in any Spanish word. I have a video about this in my old videos playlist, and I recommend that you check it out. Other things. Now, apart from these recommendations, Aiden has several other categories of sounds to work on, most of the same sounds that are troublesome for most English speakers. How can he improve those? Reading. Although reading fluency and pronunciation aren't strictly the same thing, I think that the best way to practice, drill, and improve pronunciation is through reading. So for most people, reading fluency probably is a necessary precursor to learning good pronunciation. So one very serious recommendation I have for Aiden is that he improve his reading fluency. And the only way I'm aware of to do this is by reading out loud, a lot. There's no trick or hack to get around this. To the best of my knowledge, no one has yet to invent a substitute for practice. If Aiden is serious about improving his Spanish, and I have every reason to believe he is, then I'd recommend that he aim for 20 minutes or so of reading out loud every day, sounding out each and every letter of every word, making sure that all the sounds are pronounced correctly. At this point, it doesn't matter if sentences sound like sentences. Each word can be pronounced as if it were just an isolated word, all by itself. Here's an example of what I mean. Take the words of this sentence and pronounce them one or two at a time, carefully. Que. Que. Va. Va. A pasar. A pasar. Ahora. Ahora. And so on. Then once you're confident you can pronounce each word in the sentence, try pronouncing them in short sequences. ¿Qué va a pasar ahora? ¿Qué va a pasar ahora? Si encuentran. Si encuentran. Un gusano. Un gusano. And eventually whole sentences. ¿Qué va a pasar ahora si encuentran un gusano? ¿Qué va a pasar ahora si encuentran un gusano? Speed and cadence. Another recommendation I have for Aiden is that he slow down and use an even cadence when he reads and speaks. Many English-speaking students of Spanish speak quickly and with the stress-timed cadence of English. I've made a whole video on this subject that I recommend you watch. Mispronunciations are amplified when you speak quickly, and the difference in natural cadence between English and Spanish makes it even worse. As I've said now in several videos, speak as though you were an actor and your foreign language is the part you're playing, or you're a musician and your foreign language is your music. Alright, with that said, how would I rate Aiden's pronunciation on the Spanish pronunciation evaluation scale? Well, it's true that he pronounces some Spanish sounds correctly, but he's really just beginning to. With most sounds, he uses unmodified English phonetics and phonology. So I feel that he's somewhere between these two. And this agrees with how I believe a native Spanish speaker would perceive his speech. I don't believe that in this recording, an unprepared monolingual speaker would find him usually understandable. Some of his sounds are consistently better than this, though. So for these reasons, for this recording, I would give Aiden a rating of 2. Alright, I want to thank Aiden for collaborating with me in submitting this recording. If you've enjoyed this video or learned something from it, please like, share, and subscribe. In my next video, I'll analyze the pronunciation of another viewer.